What's going on, guys? We are just going to rock the whole night on ProgPow and KawPow from the beginning to the end. So let's get after it. Before we get going, let's take a real quick look at the market. Not looking good for some of our coins that we kind of keep an eye on here. Yesterday was good, today is bad, but it is what it is. That's crypto, right? And pretty much the whole market is not doing great. Still some green on Link. Everything else is kind of down. I'm not an analyst by no stretch of your imagination. But I do like to show this just for record keeping purposes, so that if you see this video in the future and Bitcoin's at 50,000 or something like that, then it would be kind of cool to come back here and check that out. So that's why I throw that up there. I don't like to talk about the markets too much because I'm just not that good at it. I do keep an eye on a certain number of projects: Raven, Aeon, Zell, Rio, CCX, those guys like that. Okay, so that's where we're at with the market. Let's see here. Like I said at the top there, we're going to go through basically like finish up the week on KawPow and ProgPow and talk a little bit about it, and then I don't know, we'll figure out what we're going to do. But I just wanted to kind of walk through the whole all the steps to get to a point to where you can test KawPow on your system at home or wherever on your system, on your mining rigs. Whether it's Windows or Simple Mining or Hive OS or Hashrate OS. And Hashrate OS I haven't tested too much on. The last time I tried it, I think they did have the right Gminer version, but there was still a problem whenever I tried to actually set it up and point a rig at it using Hashrate OS. It didn't work. Maybe we can mess with that tonight. I don't know. We'll see. But let's see here. Quick news, not really news, but just something that WebNow tweeted out about Ravencoin. It said during the past week, several altcoins have been creating bullish formations and initiated upward moves afterward, moving toward their previous highs. And one of those was Ravencoin that they talked about in that article there. So just wanted to kind of point that out, let you know that there are some people that are keeping an eye on Raven, and obviously it's one of the higher market caps. I think it's still at about number 50 on CoinMarketCap. So it is one that draws a lot of attention and eyeballs, from investors or whoever are looking at it. And it's got a large market cap and huge amounts of volume, and we'll talk about that in a minute also. So why in the world would Ravencoin, that's been around a couple years now, why would they want to actually switch algorithms? And we've talked about this all week, but if you're watching this video and you haven't watched the previous ones, I figured I would bring you up to speed. Basically, it's an attempt to kick ASICs and FPGAs off the network. It's been a problem over the past year and a half or so. They did go to X16R v2 last year, at the end of last year, and that worked for a little while, but it ended up being kind of a dud because it didn't take very long for either ASICs and or FPGAs to figure it out and program their systems to actually work, or their devices to actually work with X16R v2. So we are looking at a similar situation to what we experienced all last year, with huge unprofitability whenever it comes to GPU mining Ravencoin, which sucks because Ravencoin was launched with on the premise that it was ASIC resistant and it was ASIC resistant. But we talk about this all the time. A lot of people throw this term around, ASIC resistant, without understanding that every processor, even the GPU that's in your system right now, is an ASIC, right? So you can design an ASIC to run any algorithm. It's just whether or not it's worth it to design it and manufacture it. That's the whole key. So a lot of times this ASIC resistant thing ends up being an economic thing, not necessarily a technical thing. So you got to keep that in mind whenever you hear people tout their project as ASIC resistant or whatever. It's mostly nonsense, because they if they were a top 10 market cap coin, you better believe that someone's going to create an ASIC for it. So anyway, that's just my take, and that applies to most algorithms that are out there. Now, I'm going to lose my train of thought because I looked over here and I saw something. Give me a second. That's the way my brain works. ASIC resistance. Oh, so Raven was launched on the premise of ASIC resistance only because of the small market cap. And for the past year and a half, it has not been mineable with GPUs really profitable at all because ASICs have invaded the network, ASICs and FPGAs or FPGAs. And it's been a problem. So hopefully this will solve it. I'm hoping that's what the whole goal is. And why are we really worried about it? Well, because manufacturers and mining mining farms that are mining Raven, and they have huge amounts of investment in the hardware, facilities, staff, electricity, all that stuff. They are operating as a business, right? It is not necessarily to support the project. They don't. Most of those farms don't care about that part. They are only looking at making money. And you can see right here, or not making money, but at least breaking even, right? You can see right here, there are, if you follow Raven Whales on Twitter, you can see that there are still, although I did notice some that were going from Binance to unknown, which is cool, but the majority, and this is just large numbers of transactions, right? A large number of Raven that is sent from one address to another. But you can see right here, there's 5 million to Binance, 1.2 million to Binance, 5 million to Binance. You can see that there's a huge amount of the hash power on the network that is unknown. Here's another one. There's one that's unknown from Binance. That's cool. Here's 3 million to Binance, 3 million to Binance, 4 million to Binance, 3 million to Binance. So you can see that there is a problem because what's happening, and this is affecting the value of Raven, right? Because if the ASIC farms are constantly dumping on the market they're not holding, right? They're just dumping on the market in order to pay their bills. Now, Ravencoin is not worth that much, and some of that is attributed to them dumping on the market all the time, but even 3 million it shows right here is only 51,000, right? That's not a huge payday. It's not like you would see for a large Bitcoin farm, making millions or whatever a day. But they're dumping on the market. It's suppressing the price, the value. Not that I don't like talking about value that much because it's not really that important, but if you are looking at the numbers, you always kind of want to see the value go up. And Ravencoin has some built-in things that are probably going to forever suppress the value of it, and that's the cost of the assets. And I talked about that on the show before. There are some built-in things, but I could see it getting, and this is not financial advice or anything, but I could see it getting back to all-time highs, right? I think around 8 cents or something like that. And that would be basically an 8x from where it's at right now, which is not bad. And I think that the move to ProgPow is going to be, or KawPow is going to be really significant. I think that there's going to be some confidence back in the project from the GPU mining community, in my opinion. I mean, I know I feel it. I'm like, oh wow, they actually do care about us, right? Not that the GPU miners deserve anything. We're just mining, and we're doing it for profit, or holding and hoping, for a great tomorrow with the value and everything, so that we could hopefully sell at a profit. But we also like the project because of decentralization. So I think that whenever that confidence comes back in, we might be able to see some increase in value. And I think it's going to happen. I don't know. I'm just some dude on the internet, but it would seem logical that it would, because we're going on like a year and a half of pure suppression. We had that little area whenever they first went to x16r v2 that was okay. I think that Ravencoin was up towards the top of what to mine as far as profitability for some of the NVIDIA GPUs, but it has since fallen. And you can see that whenever you look at the hash rate, network hash rate. You can see right here, let me just go with a year here. So you can see right here was the fork to X16RV2, kicked a lot of ASICs and specialized hardware off the network, and then we were doing okay for a while, and then, oh well, I guess they figured it out, and then now look, now we're way worse than we were even at the height of the FPGA and ASIC invasion right here. So we're way off, we're way worse. It's 35.7 terahash. That is crazy. That's a crazy amount of hash rate. And then on the difficulty side, it pretty much mirrors for the most part. You can see that the network difficulty is way high. So if you don't have specialized hardware, if you don't have ASICs and FPGAs, then you're probably not profitable, right? Pretty much, unless you have zero electric cost. You could still mine with a GPU if it's zero electric, but for the most part, you're not going to be profitable with anything decentralized, right? So that's a problem, and that's what they're hopefully trying to fix with moving to KawPow. Yeah, Raven might not even be on here. There it is, way down there. Okay, so yeah, so hopefully this will move back up for GPU miners, and we will be able to profitably mine Raven at some point in the not too distant future. I think that would be pretty cool for us as the GPU mining community. A lot of us, started mining Raven whenever it was first released in 2018, January 3rd, 2018, and had a good run. That first year was pretty good, and then after that, it got too. There was too much of an incentive for specialized hardware, and that's where we are today. So we want to make it to where commodity GPUs, you can go and buy a GPU at Best Buy and be able to mine Ravencoin, and that is what decentralization is all about. Whenever you have these mining farms and they're centralized, they have all this hardware, all this cost, all this efficiency basically on the network, and it's one or two players or less than 10 players, then you have a huge amount of centralization. You see that with Bitcoin, you see it with Ravencoin at this point. So hopefully this will decentralize the network like it's supposed to be. Hopefully. All right, so let me check the chat. I don't know if anybody's watching or not. Hey, what's up, guys? Mad, Jonas, Techman, Mike, Sarth, what is going on? Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Hope you guys are doing well. Doing your social distancing and all that stuff still. All right, so KawPow is a derivative of, I'm just going to run through, what KawPow is basically real quick here. I know most of you that are in here now have been watching the shows this week, which is great. But other people might watch this and not have seen those previous shows. So KawPow is a derivative of ProgPow, or programmatic proof of work. The really cool thing about ProgPow is it's configurable, and the devs that created it, if def else, deserves a lot of credit for making it configurable. That is a cool aspect of ProgPow, is making it to where you can configure it and make it your own. I think that's an important aspect of this project as a whole, and I think that's cool. Now, ASICs would, if they were to try to make a ProgPow or KawPow ASIC, application-specific integrated circuit, then they would experience a real minimal efficiency gain of about 1.1 to 1.2x, depending on probably the manufacturer, and that is much less than the 2x for Ethash or 50x that you see in Kryptonite coins whenever you create an ASIC for those projects. So you can see from a financial standpoint, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to create an ASIC for ProgPow or KawPow. If you're only getting 1 point, I mean, the market cap would have to be humongous, and the liquidity and all that stuff would have to be, and the value, the USD value would have to be humongous in order to really justify creating an ASIC for 1.1 to 1.2x gain. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So it's really cool that they have designed it in this way and also made it configurable. These parameters here you can change and make it unique, and that's what Ravencoin has done. They have made ProgPow unique to them and calling it KawPow. So really cool. I'm looking forward to this a whole lot. I can't wait. Let's see here. This is the GitHub for KawPow itself. Not a whole lot of information in here for the general user. I figured I would just show it real quick. And you know, so Ravencoin is switching to this variant of ProgPow called KawPow, and they're editing some of those variables, like I was showing on the previous screen there. So they're editing some of those variables, making it their own, unique, and all that stuff. And KawPow, unlike Fhash, KawPow is not going to favor low-end AMD GPUs since it's more core dependent, not memory dependent. So a lower-end AMD GPU is going to perform about the same as an NVIDIA GPU from the same era. We've noticed that this week, whenever we were doing all of our testing with like RX 580s, NVIDIA 10 series, they were close. I mean, especially on the efficiency side, right? Like your kilohash per watt, that was really, really close. You can get them really close. Now, maybe not the overall hash rate, but then you got to take in all the considerations, you know, the electric being used, the cost of the GPU, right? All those factors come into play. But from just a generic efficiency standpoint, they were really close, and that's promising because before, NVIDIA dominated the Ravencoin network whenever it was x16R. Most people didn't throw an RX 580 or AMD GPU at x16R, and now this is significant because now you're going to actually have AMD and NVIDIA on the Ravencoin network after KawPow is implemented. That's cool. That's really cool. I'm happy to see that. It kind of reminds me of seeing GPU from Rio a little bit, right? So you're able to mine efficiently with both major manufacturers of GPUs, NVIDIA and AMD. So that's super cool. I'm digging that a lot. And the higher end GPUs, AMD GPUs, are going to perform like a similar class of NVIDIA GPUs. Did I say NVIDIA twice there? I meant AMD versus NVIDIA. Basically, the classes, when using the KawPow algorithm, the higher end AMD GPUs are going to be similar to NVIDIA GPUs. For some reason, my mouse is just going crazy right now. It's almost like the speed of it changed for some reason. I don't know why. All right, it's kind of jumping around. Yeah, so you might be asking yourself, okay, so when is this going to happen, right? There's not a definitive date, but it looks like about a week. They were wanting to get the binaries, the wallets, and all that stuff done by the 15th of this month, so 5 days from now. And they're looking to probably fork on May 6th. And Blonde Frog's one of the devs that's working on all this. He's been really hard at work, but there's still no definite date, time, or block number of when the fork will actually occur. But it's looking like May 6th. So you're gonna have 3 full weeks, almost 3 full weeks to do testing. And if you want to find out how to do that, that's what we're going to basically get into here in a moment. And we've been talking about it all week. Every show this whole week has been on ProgPow or KawPow in some way. We've done a lot of testing, live testing. So got a lot of data, and everything's looking pretty good, but I do recommend you test your own systems as well. Let's see here. It looks like, you know what, this might have been updated because I don't remember TT Miner being in here initially. I thought it was just G Miner and MB Miner, but I could be wrong. I just don't remember seeing TT Miner in here. But here's some basic, reference numbers on stock settings, and I can tell you that overclocking on the memory side doesn't seem to have a whole lot of impact. A little bit on the core side, and power seems to be the most important thing for KawPow, in my experience anyway. So, all right, so let's see where we would go from here. Like, let's say we're going to start from the very beginning. I think that DCA is going to go live at 10. I'll try to finish up here pretty quick here, but I did want to start at the very beginning as far as how you can set up to test this, right? So you have to go to the nightly builds. I don't think you can go off of here to grab a wallet that will work with KawPow, okay? Even though the version is the same, you have to get the development version in order to test KawPow. I think that is still true. Could be wrong, but I think that is still the fact. It's still factual information there. So, so you have to go over here. Let me paste this in the chat so that you can have it. So you have to go to the development builds, then go into the development builds folder and click on your platform. And this is where I made a mistake initially. You want to grab the latest development version. It'll say development on it, or develop. So right here is the one I would grab, or this one. So I'm gonna grab this one because I'm on Windows and I think I've already downloaded it. Yeah, I already have. So once it's downloaded, then you would go to that folder and right click on it and extract. And then I'm just going to extract it right to here, to the same folder in the downloads. You would extract it to wherever you wanted. Then you're going to go into the folder and then go into the bin folder, and that's where your executable is going to be, the ravenqt.exe. And you're going to create a shortcut to it. And then you're going to edit that shortcut. So you're going to right click on it and choose properties. And then at the end, you're going to go to the very end of this string here. And actually, you might have to, this is a good question. Normally there's quotation marks around that. There's not right now, so let's find out if it's going to work. But you're going to add dash testnet to the end of it after the raven-qt.exe, so it's going to be dash testnet. Let me zoom up on that. I don't know if you can see it or not. So it'll look like that. And then you're going to say OK. And then that's the one you're going to want to run. I like to rename it to testnet. Like that. And then double click on that to run it. And it's going to ask you all the normal questions. You know, hey, you're running a mining program. You got to, let it through the firewall and all that stuff. Pretty much all of the wallets and all that stuff are going to show as potentially malicious, right? I already had the wallet running, so I had to close it there. So I'm going to double click on it again. Okay, and then you've got to let it through the firewall here. And then you've got mine's already synced, so you're going to have to wait on it to sync, probably depending on the status of your system. I mean, there's no way for me to know all that. as far as whether or not you've done this before. But once you get this up and running, even if it is syncing, you can still click the little hide button and go ahead and go to receive. I like to throw a label in there, mining, like you see down here at the bottom, and then just do request payment, and that will get you an address, right? So this will be, you double click on your request here and then copy the address, and that'll be your mining address. And then depending on what miner you're going to use, what your hardware is, and I've been through this on the show this week, but Simple Mining has, let's see here, if we go KawPow on here, they do have TT Miner, but see, it doesn't show up on here, so maybe the version, maybe they haven't updated the version on Simple Mining. But Gminer, if you have RX, if you have AMD cards, it's not going to work for KawPow, or at least it didn't the last time I checked. Even though it's checked, the miner itself is designed to work with either. But this particular algorithm, it's not going to work. It'll let you set it up and everything will look fine, but it's not going to work once you assign it to the rig, an RX rig, an AMD rig, and try to mine KawPow with Gminer. It's not going to work. You have to use NB Miner for Simple Mining to mine KawPow using AMD hardware. And we've done that this week quite a bit. Right now I only have AMD rigs online, so if we were going to do this, we would use NB Miner as the miner. So we can go ahead and do this. We're just going to choose use on the latest one, and version 29.1 here. I actually gave a nice boost to Navi AMD cards, I believe. I think they were stuck at like 3.5 mega hash or something like that, and it bumped them up to be a normal. I don't know what the normal is, but you can check out Serpent X Special Forces. He's got a video on it, a couple of them it looks like. I think that it was this one that he was talking about, the new version, because it was only a day ago. Yeah, so check this video out right here, because he talks about showing. I didn't watch it. I did watch it live, but I think I did it on my Roku or something. I'll paste this over there. And yeah, this one he talks about mining KawPow. Doesn't have the GPU that he used in here, but anyway, he was the one that pointed out that they have a new version and all that stuff. So that's what you will do for that. Let me see here. Get back on track. I got so many tabs open. I need to close some of those. Okay, so we're going to use NB Miner. We'll just give it a name of Raven, KawPow, YouTube. I don't know if I probably don't have one named that yet. And then we will go down here to the miner config. And we're going to say KawPow is the algo. And then we have to get a pool, right? So what did I get? Did I grab the? Already grabbed the user. The user is your. No, I copied something. Yeah, the user is your mining address. So let me get back out here and let me get my bearings straight and get the right data up here. So this was the Google sheet that we were working with before, whenever we were doing all this throughout the week here. So you can see I already have the string and everything. So the pool, the only pool that I'm aware of, I did see a little bit of talk of another pool, but I don't think I ever went to it. Minermore is probably the most reliable testnet pool that you can choose, so we'll just stick with that. We'll come in here and we'll drop in, we'll take out the stratum TCP, just put in the server and port. And where would I get that from? You can get it from minermore.com. And then down here you can see testnet Raven T. So you click on that, and this will give you the address and all that stuff that you need. The URL for the miner, or for the pool right here. Right there. And that's what we used. Alright, let's get that back over here. So the user is your mining address. You saw how we got that from the Ravencoin wallet running on testnet. I'm just going to copy that over to the user location there, or the user parameter. I'll leave the, you see I have a space in there, you can't do that. You got to get the space out of there. You see I have the variable here for rig name, so it'll, whenever it's talking to the pool, miner more pool, it will tell it what the rig name is that I have in simple mining, so you can figure out which rig is which. And then the API, I don't think it works for this version of Miner. I don't know, I haven't tried it on like Windows or anything like that, but best I can tell, it does not work. And I'll show you that in just a second. So, and I say that every time and then I forget, because if I forget, remind me, and I'll show you what this is supposed to do. So anyway, we're going to click Add Group. You can see that I've got 2 rigs online over here, Scarif and Dagobah. So we'll use Scarif as the example. It's right here in my office still. So we're going to choose, put a check mark in there. And it actually is already mining KawPow. We're going to put a check mark in there, group config, or we're going to click actions and then group config, and then choose the group that we just created, which is Raven KawPow YouTube. And then save, and then you'll see the rig kick off a restart or a reload. And if we go to the console here, we can watch what's going on. And while this is going on, let me will remind me about that right there, the API. Gminers works fine. This one seemed to not work, so. The rig is restarting right now. I don't know if you can hear it or not. While that's going on, I'll check the chat. Oh, I didn't like his video. Oh, my bad. My bad. Like I said, I watched it on my Roku, so I wasn't watching it on this computer. Fail. My bad. My bad. Thanks for pointing that out, Nefarious. I appreciate it. Alright, so it's starting back up now. I can hear it. You can see the hash rates here. And see, that's really good. 10.14, 11.3 for an RX 580 and well, this is a 570 right here. This is a 580. That's really strong. That's nice. So then if you go over to the pool, let me grab the address real quick. Now, clearly we're mining, you know, you got everything indicates as such, you got hash rate, you got everything, you know, shares accepted and all that stuff down here. Somewhere, I thought we did. Yeah, right here. So everything's good there. Then if we grab our address, and go over to the pool, don't let me forget about that API too. All right, so if we go over here and we're gonna go miner lookup and then enter in our address, view miner, miner not found. Okay, so, oh, wait a minute. Is there space in there? Yeah, the space messed us up. See how those spaces at the end of that can mess you up? You got to be really careful with that. All right. So this is the miner status here. I think if we go to view blocks found, 570 blocks, and remember Raven is 5,000 per block. So I've earned over 2 million testnet Raven. That's pretty cool. Yeah, you can see down here, I'm the one finding all the blocks. But that's okay. All right. And that's with 2 GPUs. That's pretty funny. Yeah, there's like one other miner online. It looks like net hash is only 17 mega hash, and I'm 12 something of it, right? Or no, wait. Am I all of it? Yeah, 20 total right here. So, yeah, anyway. All right, so that's cool. What was I going to bring up? I was going to bring up... It's right here. So, right now we're looking at these 2 GPUs. And you see at one point it was getting 10.4 and 11.6. You actually saw that just a minute ago, where it was definitely capable of doing that. I don't know what they're at now. Kind of crept down a little bit. This is that variance that I see in this. I don't know if it's just because it's testnet or what, but there is, you know, plus or minus 10 to 20%. It's like variable. See, it went all the way from 10 to 11. But yeah, so you can see that these numbers over here on that profitability sheet here, you can see, look at that efficiency of the RX 570. That is insane. Really cool stuff. Like to see that. So, and you can see the overclock settings here, the undervolting, the power stage. So if you're doing simple mining, you can use these same settings and you should be able to experience about the same efficiency, same hash rate, and all that stuff. If you're using the same miner, 29.1, mining the same algorithm and all that stuff, you should get pretty accurate in there, as long as you're using the same GPUs too. I did try those settings on the Gigabyte, and you can see that it's just not as efficient. And you might be wondering, well, you've got your memory down so far, right? Well, these 2 GPUs right here are actually BIOS modded. Okay, I need to put another column in here that says asks whether or not it is BIOS modded or not. So if it's BIOS modded, it's recommended that you actually set the memory clock to 1750. I had bumped it up just to test a little bit, but that will offset your BIOS mod so that it is it's accurate. And remember, KawPow is more core than memory anyway, but you don't want it to be working too hard and heat up your GPU, you know, for no reason, right? So you bring this down to, on a BIOS modded GPU, you bring it down to 1750 on the memory on an AMD card, and you should be good as far as you know, settings go, overclock settings go. So that's the settings, the overclock settings that I use right now so far. Haven't found any that work any better. That's just it. And you can see here it's dropped all the way down to 8.4, 9.5, but if I just let it rock, it will definitely increase again. At least that's what I've seen. All right, so let's check out the API. So if we go to the rig and we find out what the rig's IP address is. It's 1.123. And what we're supposed to be able to do is fire up a web page, our web browser, and go to that IP address and that port 22333. You can set this whatever you want, but right now we'll just leave it to the default. So I'm gonna grab this whole, actually no, I'm just gonna grab the 22333. And then we should be able to go to a browser and type in your IP address of the rig, colon, and then the port. I don't know if you can see that. I think you can. So colon and then the port, and then press enter, and it's supposed to bring up like a page, like a status page. Gminer definitely does. If you use that same API parameter, it'll come up and show you really cool statistics, and you can kind of monitor it without actually going into your mining operating software, which is kind of cool. But for whatever reason, maybe it's just the miner, maybe they just haven't configured it all the way to work with KawPow, I don't know, but it just doesn't seem to work. That's what that's for. What's up, Sci Freaks? Uh-oh, I think the rig just shut down. It did, I don't know why. Well, that would be troubleshooting for another day, but it looks, I don't know if maybe it just, maybe there's an update or something, I don't know. Weird. I have let this rig run for a while, so that's kind of surprising that it restarted like that. Unprovoked. Alright, so let me check my notes, make sure I covered everything I wanted to. Has anybody got any questions on how you would go ahead and start testing your rigs mining KawPow? I think one of the keys is definitely not trying to download the wallet from their website. You have to go to that nightly builds, that link that I put in the chat over there. You have to go there to get it. And you have to use the development, the one that says develop on it, right, for your platform. And then you should be good to go. You have to start the wallet to get the address. That's another thing. If you don't have the right address, it's not going to work. It's going to throw you some errors if you try to use like a mainnet address to mine to, right? So you have to get that address, and then you're able to set up your rigs. We used NB Miner on AMD. I've done videos this whole week on Gminer on NVIDIA. I did several different types of GPUs on NB Miner and Gminer, but they were all 10 series, 1070, 1070 Ti, and 1080s. So check out those videos. There's the whole week was all KawPow, so you should be able to figure it out watching one of those videos anyway. All right, so I see that there's a major discussion started on DCA, so let me bring up their site here. I'm going to link to their channel over here, and then depending on how I feel in a little bit, I might actually fire up another live stream and do a rig disassembly, because I need to that second rig. This is Mustafar. So the Mustafar rig is in an 8 GPU frame. I need to get it on a 6 GPU frame, even though it's still going to have 8 GPUs. You know, we did this with the Dagobah rig. We drilled holes and configured it for a tighter fit, a little bit more condensed, a little bit more density, right? Basically 8 GPUs on a 6 GPU frame, and we're going to do the same thing for the Dagobah rig. I'm sorry, the Mustafar rig. It's currently looking like this. and we're going to take it from an 8 GPU rig and throw it on a 6 GPU frame to make it a little denser and take up a little bit less space. That's kind of the goal. So it's currently still together. The rig is just sitting here on my desk, and I need to disassemble it and then put it in a 6 GPU frame. So that's what I might do that after DCA is over. I don't know, we'll see. But anyway, thanks so much for stopping in. I appreciate it, you guys. You guys are awesome. Thanks for hanging out and talking crypto with me for a little bit. It is greatly appreciated. I'll see y'all next time, maybe later tonight. Stay savage, everybody.